the people who know the least about climate science are the ones who are the most fixated on models, because they don't know anything about climate science, they honestly believe that everything that comes out of climate science is models. It's all we do is models. And that's not actually the case. I mean, models are the most visible part to people who don't know much about climate science.
One of the myths that we hear a lot is that, kind of climate science is basically, it's all just made up in computer models about the future. And so we don't know what's going to happen in the future because the future hasn't happened yet. It's all simulations. You can get any answer you want out if you put whatever you want in.
We have a department of 20 people at Texas A&M, and there's one person there that runs climate models. Nobody else does.
Across these broad fields, there is so much coherency and agreement.
The evidence that the Earth is warming is based on a bunch of different pieces that kind of fit together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Dozens of independent lines of evidence that all come together telling us the same thing. That's how science works.
There is incredible agreement about the drivers of climate science, the climate change, the ways that the planet has operated in the past.
We've got measurements from the ocean surface. We've got measurements of the land for all the continents. We've got the southern hemisphere. We've got the northern hemisphere. They all point in the same direction.
We have thousands of data sets. Rivers are freezing over later and they're thawing earlier.
The surface temperature record, the time of year the plants flower or leaf out.
An increase in the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere, changes in sea level, changes in the heat content of the global ocean. Scientists are looking at moisture, at rainfall, at water vapor, at surface humidity, at the cryosphere, at snow, at ice. And all of this is telling an internally and physically consistent story. And that story is the planet is warming. And despite our best attempts to see whether natural causes can explain that warming, they can't.
Tree rings and ice cores and sediment cores, these are the actual things that recorded Earth's climate in the past. Like, they were there. They have embedded information that is so useful and so relevant to what's happening right now on the planet and what's going to happen in the future.
We've got lots of independent information from holes in the ground, boreholes, an independent way of estimating surface temperatures back in time.
It's irrefutable evidence that there are major consequences that come with climate warming, and that we take these Earth systems to be very stable. We take them for granted, and they're not stable. They're deeply unstable when you perturb the carbon system in the atmosphere.
We have satellite measurements, which actually show the temperatures going up also, as much as people try to claim it's not. That's really statistical mumbo jumbo.
And we're talking agreement across instruments we put at the top of the atmosphere, ice cores we extract from Greenland.
Things like the Arctic sea ice declining.
We're losing ice. That's another source of evidence that the Earth is warming, because we know ice reliably melts at 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ice asks no questions, presents no arguments, reads no newspapers, listens to no debates. It's not burdened by ideology and carries no political baggage as it crosses the threshold from solid to liquid. It just melts.
Sea level is going up. If you say, well, how much ice am I losing and how much heat is going into the ocean, which causes the ocean to thermally expand, then you can say, well, how much sea level rise am I actually seeing? And they kind of match. So it's this consistency check on all of these other things.
That's why there's the consensus, not because we're standing around holding hands, because independent teams of scientists coming at the problem from different angles, arriving at the same consistent answer over and over again.
There is incredible agreement, and really, I think as I've grown as a scientist, I've become more comfortable in knowing, there is a great agreement around the statements that I make around climate change, and I am actually safe in the things that I say. I stand behind everything that I say.
It's inarguable, although some people still argue it.